Coming to you live here from Staria Farms, a 5-star rated based on 3 review farm here in Dharmaram Main Road, China Laxmapuram, Dharmaram, Telangana. We're here in Hyderabad, India, with the continuation of the Korea Closed Qualifiers of StarsWar. Number 11. I'm, of course, your host, Yaku of the Zakus, and with me today is El Baja Blaster que no necesita tiritas, Light _ VIP. How we doing, Light?
What's up, Yaku? It's great to be back once again. As you mentioned, this is day number 2 of the Korea Closed Qualifier. Yesterday, we were live, of course, covering the first round of matches, and no one has been eliminated yet. No one has been removed from the event as of yet, but today that changes as we have some upper bracket matches and some lower bracket matches as well. It looks like we've actually shifted some of these matches around, and it looks like our first best of 3 is actually GuMiho versus ByuN.
Yeah, gonna be the lower upper bracket semifinals. it's gonna be a upper bracket semifinals, which, you know, math has never been my strong suit, Light, but I do believe that since the top 3 players will be qualifying for the offline StarsWar event, this would be a qualifying match, wouldn't it?
100%, yeah. Based on the math, this is a qualifying match, so quite a lot is on the line in this TvT, and what a TvT it's going to be, especially considering the TvT has changed, because Yaku, I don't know if you're aware, I don't know if you've been laddering much recently, but we are on a new patch, we're on a new map pool, we have a brand new TvT.
Boy, do I have a rant for you.
Oh god. What happened, man? What happened?
So what day did the update go live? Thursday, I believe?
Yeah, it was like 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Thursday or something like it was they played at GSL, so it was like Thursday or something. Yesterday I wasn't able to ladder at all. I didn't really have the time. Today, I decided I woke up early. I have time before StarsWar begins. You specifically messaged me. You said we have 7 hours. I said that should give me some time to ladder. And my game just won't open. And so I'm glad we have a live feed to cast at right now, because I have been scanning and repairing my StarCraft 2 client for the past 3.5 hours.
That is a little bit brutal. Thankfully, as you said, we do have the clean feed available.
55%.
Thankfully, we do have the clean feed available, and we do have our vetoes coming in now, actually. It looks like we will be featuring one of the new maps, as Alkiona and Side Delta have made it through. This is what we kind of expect to be seeing as some of the older maps preferred here by the players, especially because the new maps are very, very fresh off the presses, so not a lot of experience on these newer maps, but at least we'll be featuring Crimson Court in game number 2.
Indeed we will. I believe that was ByuN's pick as well, so yeah, I do appreciate that, ByuN. It looks like GuMiho actually vetoing Golden Aura here, so one of the few maps that have been carried over from the previous map pool is not something that we're going to be seeing, so thanks, GuMiho.
Yeah, there we go. GuMiho is
yeah, we're forced to look at least one new map.
Exactly. He's opening things up for us at least a little bit here, and it makes sense. Golden Aura has a short resistance by ground. You can be quite aggressive on it, but here we go. We're diving into game number 1. We're diving into our first best of 3 of the night.
Yep, and over here at the top, at the bottom, I'm too slow. Anyway, in the top right, you got our Blue Terror player from Korea representing Cloud9. That's GuMiho. You can see him over there. He's got the jersey on. And beautiful. In
the bottom left, we have a ByuN for Shopify Rebellion as well. Again, you got to be quick with your just spam. You got to be quick with the clean feed. They don't let it sink in. You know, they don't marinate their meats. They just eat it raw.
Ooh, they do. I've been spoiled by having you and Kuro be the observers the last few times I casted.
The last couple of years, you know, it's true, Papi, true. But yeah, we're settling into our TvT, and you know, we would love to dive into the new maps. We can't quite do that yet, but we can dive into the new patch, and TvT is one of the matchups that has been influenced and impacted by the new patch.
Indeed. Looks like Cyclones are finally coming off meta, so whew. Thank you, Balance Council.
Yeah. I mean, the Cyclone has been changed quite a bit, and you can still make a couple in the early game just to be safe. I'm talking like 1 or 2, but Mass Cyclone, like what we saw in a months past, it is unlikely to see again. In TvT, it's most likely to be phased out. I say most likely because it's still early days of the new patch, and I'm sure our players are still kind of feeling out the new units and what you can get away with and what you can't get away with.
Indeed, which is why I'm glad that we are going to be seeing, or one of the first TvTs that we're going to be able to cast here in the new patch is going to be between GuMiho and ByuN, you know, a Terran player, on the one hand, a Terran player who is very experimental and known for just trying things out and doing whatever, and on the other hand, a very, very aggressive Terran player.
Oh, exactly.
Who just loves to get in right up into your face and has the potential to thrive here in the earlier days of the fresh patch.
Yeah, and I feel like this benefits ByuN a little bit more as he's going to be getting across the map. Well, I say that GuMiho is going to be getting across the map, threading that mineral line, threading that Reaper. It looks like GuMiho shoots first.
It's very rare to see ByuN be the player to lose a Reaper battle, and I didn't think that the day where he lost a Reaper battle to GuMiho would occur this soon.
Yeah, there we go. So a nice little pick off there by GuMiho. Able to gain some map control here, able to gain control of the low ground, but the Hellion has arrived. Even with the Reaper advantage, GuMiho, he has to respect the production here of ByuN and will be backing off. But again, he did kind of disrupt the opener as he tries to slip into towards that natural.
Yeah, I do like that little sneaky maneuver here from ByuN, sending his one Reaper back home and then having the Hellion to just herd GuMiho's Reaper into him. Dude, he's doing it again. Oh, but this time, GuMiho, he's got a sneaky Reaper. Nope, never mind. Getting caught out.
Yeah, he will be caught out, he will be shut down, and the game is going to be settling a little bit from here. We do have those Cyclones on the way, but again, we're not amassing Cyclones like we otherwise would have. We're going to be able to pick off at least one of these Hellions, so not a bad pick off here by GuMiho. And can he delay the CC on the low ground? It looks like he might be able to, just barely.
Yeah, he already delayed it a little bit earlier on, and now it's starting to stack up quite a bit. GuMiho's second base orbital command is already about halfway done, and ByuN still struggling a lot to actually get the second base up and running. GuMiho has not stopped that Cyclone production, by the way. He's sending more of them across the map. Yeah,
we have a medevac in production as well, so GuMiho going for an old school build. I say old school, you know, in the previous patch, I should say.
2 months ago build.
Exactly a week ago build as he's amassing Cyclones. Meanwhile, we did see that ByuN threw down a second rack, so he's playing Bio. I was going to say that I want to give the edge to ByuN just because he already was avoiding Mass Cyclone, right? Like we've been discussing it recently, how ByuN has been playing this more Bio heavy style, so he won't have to adjust too much in the new patch, but maybe he's not quite expecting this as GuMiho has arrived.
Yeah, he may have the edge in my heart, but yeah, it's not really, that doesn't necessarily translate to effectiveness in game.
Yeah, as GuMiho, he does push forward. He is going to apply a bit of pressure here with these Cyclones. Just forced back for a moment there as well, but it looks like with these Cyclones, he won't be able to quite break through. Meanwhile, he's continuing Cyclone production back at home. We have a Banshee on the way as well. GuMiho even investing into Cloak.
Yeah, very committed to keeping this up. GuMiho really wants to maintain this map control, really wants to, as long as possible, contain ByuN on these 2 bases. He's even trying to capitalize on top of this by getting a much quicker third base. This is a straight up, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this, but yeah, this is a straight up 1-1-1 into a third CC coming out from GuMiho.
And not just into a third CC, but into mech, as that is 2 more factories on the way. We can see that GuMiho is not just starting a Cyclone production, he's not going to stop, as he's committing here to Mass Cyclone into that mech style. Meanwhile, he's going to be harassing across the map. His goal here is to keep ByuN pinned back at home. I'm concerned though, because ByuN is soon going to be moving out. Once Stim kicks in, once he gets his medevacs, ByuN is going to be active on the map, but can GuMiho stop that from happening, as he's doubling down, even investing into Banshee speed?
Yeah, he really wants to keep committed to this quirky little mech style that he's got for himself here. I will say this though, for GuMiho, he's already done a really good job of slowing down ByuN's build. ByuN, he's going to be pushing out, but at most he's going to have, what, 1 tank? By the time, I mean, Stim's already done. Ordinarily, you want to be pushing across the map with 1 or 2 tanks with Stim by now.
Exactly. So as you pointed out, ByuN, he has been disrupted here in his opener, in his build, and now he's going for a double drop. As he moves out with the double drop though, here come those Banshees right for that main base.
And there is no detection right now. ByuN does have scans available, but the majority of his Marines are out on the map. 2 Cyclones coming out right now, and this is already a lot of lost SCBs. Really good control here. And target firing coming out from GuMiho. Will lose 1 Banshee, but they have more than paid for themselves. The double drop of ByuN completely chased away by the Cyclones of GuMiho.
Yeah, GuMiho is in position. He does affect that drop. 10 SCVs, 11 SCVs go down across the map. Very nice damage dealt here by GuMiho. Very well worth 1 Banshee, but as I say that, both Banshees go down. Still worth it for GuMiho, but not as impactful, not as valuable as he otherwise would have been. And he is getting his third base up running. Again, ByuN, he wants to be active, but he's still yet to really apply much pressure across the map at all.
Yeah, this has been just a fantastic game coming out from GuMiho so far. ByuN has been completely staggered. GuMiho has just completely recognized how ByuN typically likes to play this matchup. Very aggressive, very up in his opponent's faces, and has just prevented him from getting into that game that he likes to get into so often.
I mean, honestly, ByuN's pretty all in, and he's going for a Doom drop. We do have turrets finishing up in the main base. They're ready for the drop, by the way. We will be boosting in towards that natural. No, we go straight for the main.
1 medevac, practically full of Marines, already goes down, and there's basically nothing here for ByuN. GG is called. GuMiho takes a very solid game number 1.
GG, well played. Again, ByuN, he was all in, as we mentioned. He was just crippled so badly there when it came to his economy. It was all or nothing. Doom drops into the main base, but GuMiho was ready for it. And GuMiho looking strong in game 1.
Yeah, strong, solid. Again, just looks like he knew exactly how to counter everything ByuN likes to do. We may have a new patch coming on our hands, and you know, at times that can be a little bit of a disadvantage. It can be an advantage to a player who just doesn't care about patches and just sticks to something that's always going to be solid since the beginning of since the launch of the game up until now. But GuMiho somehow finding these little kinks in ByuN's arm.
See what happens, right? We can see his opponent snowball out of control instead. So now ByuN is on notice, and ByuN, can we bounce back on a newer map? As a reminder, Game 2 is going to be on Crimson Court, so I'm curious if ByuN maybe even has something special in store for us here on a newer map.
That's what that we shall be finding out. Haven't really gotten a chance to take a good look at these new maps just yet, gotta tell you, Light.
Oh, okay, so when it comes to the newer maps, a lot of them are very quirky, is maybe a way of putting it.
Yeah. I heard a lot of opinions on Ghost River.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, every single map, Ghost River, Dynasty, Amphion, Post-Youth, Crimson Court. Fun fact, we were casting a 4 Jumi show match last week on the new maps before the maps went live. And something that we noticed is that every single new map is unique in its own way and has like mineral walls, has pocket bases, has a way to rush, a way to be aggressive, just very dynamic maps. There's a bit of a give and take where the new maps specifically are just, they seem to be, again, just very unique and very aggressive in general. And there are no new standard maps, which, I mean, take that how you will, but yeah, it's an interesting map pool that we have on our hands.
I'll take it. Anyway, in the top right, Blue and Korea represent Cloud9. That was GuMiho.
In the bottom left, we have ByuN for Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah. Timed it.
Here we go, and this is what we spoke about. I don't know if you can see the minimap, but the rush distance on Crimson Court is insanely straightforward and insanely short as well. There are these mineral walls, and again, every new map has mineral walls in some capacity, so you can kind of mine through and you can gain access to an entire other section of the map. But at least in the early game, again, the rush distance and the attack path is very straightforward, and we are going for a proxy 2 racks.
Yeah, ByuN going to be taking full advantage of that rush path. It's been a while, like, since I've seen a rush path that was literally just one straight line.
It's
just one straight line, you know?
Yeah, it's just
no slow zones in between, no snaking around, no nothing.
It's just a line. You just walk across the map, you get across there, you get into the face of your opponent. The reactors, oh my, the reactors are on the way, but GuMiho with the hard counter going for his own 2 racks in his main base.
Yeah, this is... I mean, you said it best. It is the hot counter to this. ByuN going to be relying a lot more on his own Reaper control. GuMiho hasn't quite spotted the barracks yet, but he is keeping safe, he is going to make it a little bit more difficult for those Reapers to jump up this ramp and to get on top of GuMiho. Once again, there is still a path to victory here for ByuN, but he really needs to out micro GuMiho super hard by like 1,000%, as GuMiho is just making things so much easier for himself.
It's just such a good read here by GuMiho, and going for a 2-rack opener is designed to shut down early like proxies and aggression from your opponent. So a really strong start here from GuMiho. He hasn't seen what's going on. He does have a depot. I think that may even be blocking off that Reaper cliff. It may be like a single unit long. We'll see as, it looks like Nobi slip in.
Yeah, and unfortunately for GuMiho, he was a little bit out of position with his own Reaper. And so he will be starting to lose the Reaper battle right now.
Yeah, we trade one for one. Okay.
Yeah, GuMiho has the option to pull his SCVs, but even still, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, again, thankfully it was a 1-for-1 trade, and it looks like GuMiho is going to be able to shut this down, able to chase this all the way back here, cleans up the final Reaper, and we're heading towards the factory. As we mentioned before, again, this build choice of GuMiho is primed to defend against early proxies, just as we said, or just as we can see here, and yeah, GuMiho, he's going to be able to survive this and get into a longer game.
Yeah, super important for GuMiho here to have produced these handful of Marines. Again, they produce so much quicker than Reapers do. And as long as you have one Reaper surviving, these Marines are practically Widow Mines. They're zoning tools in the Reaper fight.
Yeah, and GuMiho is across the map as well. There's nothing to defend here. Boys are being pulled. We delay the factory for so long. One SCV goes down, second SCV as well, and ByuN is forced to race all the way back home. And ByuN, he will eventually transition out of this, but again, he's going to be far more delayed.
Yeah, a lot slower compared to GuMiho's own production. GuMiho's factory has finished up already. I was kind of expecting him to go for Hellions here, but I guess he assessed the situation correctly. He knows that the Reaper fights are over. He doesn't need to create them. Cyclone is going to keep him much safer and provide him a little bit more versatility here.
Yeah, especially if ByuN were to rush into a 1-1 into a Banshee to try to bounce back, right? We're just playing it very safe here from GuMiho. Reapers, they try to disrupt that natural base. They're going to be able to get a couple of hits in, but we bleed out another one of those Reapers, and ByuN is going to be forced back. GuMiho will get his natural base on location.
Indeed. And not too far behind from ByuN's, actually. Going to be a little bit faster than ByuN's, as it turns out.
Oh yeah, quite a bit faster. It's already being morphed into an orbital as we speak. Again, GuMiho, he's ahead with his factory, ahead with his tech, ahead with his economy as well. And he gets across the map. Can he even try to pick up a couple more SCVs here? It's going to be close. We do have some units in the vicinity, but it looks like we get at least a couple of SCV kills.
That's going to be 3. And that's going to be GuMiho pulling ahead when it comes to the worker count. Now 30-25. Absolutely huge in a mirror matchup this early on.
Oh yeah, a massive economic lead here for GuMiho, and now the pressure is on ByuN. I mean, the pressure has been on ByuN the entire game, essentially. He has to try to bounce back in some way, shape, or form, and there are ways to bounce back, you know, draw play, maybe rushing it or outpositioning your opponent in a TvT. It's very possible in the mid-game. There are ways to bounce back, but it is an uphill battle for ByuN.
Absolutely, and now we're actually kind of seeing GuMiho pull a little bit from ByuN's book. ByuN just trying to chip away and see whatever he can get done here, which, I mean, the answer is not much. GuMiho just has so much more production. He's been producing much longer, so, I mean, the army supply difference really tells you everything. ByuN needs to equalize somehow, but he just doesn't have the firepower to do so.
He really does not, as he might be able to pick off a depot, you know, that's something at least going ByuN's way behind this, getting into his tank production. As you mentioned, GuMiho, he's about to finish up with his stim. Once stim is done, once the medevacs are done, then he can move out across the map, and it's going to be a tough hold for ByuN.
Yeah, and that's definitely putting it lightly. I think there are positions here that ByuN can really take advantage of, but again, GuMiho, there's no pressure on GuMiho right now to dive into ByuN, and hold on a second. Oh, as GuMiho is the first player to react and unload his medevacs. That would have been an opportunity for ByuN to equalize, but GuMiho was just faster this time.
Yeah, it was faster to react. He shuts down the drop. We do see a Cyclone drop here towards the natural base. Good juggling here out of ByuN, able to trade well, even has that Liberator in the main as well. Is getting some damage done, but GuMiho's moving out. GuMiho, that drop is across the map, and he wants to commit. He wants to try to get some kind of counter damage.
Yeah, there's a tanky position here behind the base of ByuN. But not in a great position. Tank is trying to get a little bit closer, but as it unsieges, that just opens up the Marines of GuMiho to dive on in and stim forward. It looks like a bit of a miscalculation here from GuMiho. Will be losing the bulk of his Marines, and yeah, now it's getting chased back by the defensive reinforcements of ByuN.
Yeah, GuMiho is forced back. He did kill a tank though, so again, a better trade here for GuMiho, trading Marines out for a tank. So he will maintain his tank lead as he does retreat for the time being. And we'll see if GuMiho decides to throw down a third. We'll see if he decides to work towards a third base and try to get into the mid game, or if he wants to go for the kill and move out with his main army and try to stop ByuN before it could really get going.
Yeah, ByuN has now basically equalized when it comes to the income. He's not too far behind when it comes to the SCV count, but like you said, this game is still in the ball is still in GuMiho's court. He is the player who can afford to dictate the pace of the game. He has the map control, and yeah, it looks like he's going to continue to be aggressive with it.
Yeah, as he is moving out across the map, the army is spotted again. GuMiho does have the tank lead overall, so in a head-on fight, I want to give the edge to GuMiho. But it also depends on who's able to siege up first, who's able to outposition the other, as we are headed towards that main base, and we are within range of the combat shields.
And that's going to be a massive boost for GuMiho once again. His Marines are just going to be that much better than ByuN's. ByuN really cannot afford to misposition or miscontrol anything from this point forward. He's down 10 army supply, and he's got the same unit composition as GuMiho.
Yeah, at least ByuN does have the Viking lead. We saw there that he was able to clean up all the Vikings of GuMiho and maintain that overall Viking and air superiority, so that is something going ByuN's way. But as ByuN is contained on 2 bases, GuMiho is expanding. He's getting his 3rd base on location. It's almost done at this point, so GuMiho is extending his economic lead. ByuN has to break out, and he is going for a drop.
Yeah, very committed drop. That's 2 medevacs full of Marines being sent across the map. 1 additional medevac as well. That doesn't have that much in it, but still will be able to go across the map, and that was a full medevac that just got taken out by the Vikings of GuMiho.
Exactly.
Unfortunate placement here for ByuN.
Yeah, full medevac goes down. We're going to be able to clean this up as well. The Vikings, they turn back around, they take down another medevac, and yeah, we barely have any survivors here from ByuN. He does have to retreat. That was an expensive loss from him, and we spoke about it earlier about how ByuN can't afford these losses. Not here, not right now, not after the early game. So this is still an uphill battle. This is still ByuN trying to overcome this deficit.
And it's going to be tough. GuMiho, yeah, just maneuvering around the map. He just wants to make sure that ByuN never feels comfortable and is never really able to break out from this position and to reciprocate the damage. Which I think is really smart here from GuMiho. He knows that, sure, he may be ahead when it comes to the army supply, but ByuN has not been neglecting tank production whatsoever. GuMiho, the one way GuMiho can really throw his lead in this game is to just stim up a ramp into these 2, 4, 6 tanks.
100%, right? Like, ByuN can take a fight. As you mentioned, like, his tank gun is looking quite healthy, and if ByuN is able to catch GuMiho off guard, if he's able to catch him out of position, then ByuN can win a fight. But that does rely on GuMiho making a big mistake. And will that mistake happen? We do have a triple drop moving out towards the left. It looks like GuMiho is going for a split push. Can he pull ByuN apart, or will he be pulled apart in the process?
Yeah, this is always the essential question. ByuN continuing to play things safe, getting that sensor tower by that golden mineral wall. And this is, again, kind of playing into GuMiho's hand a little bit. GuMiho is more than content to allow ByuN to turtle up while he just expands on the map.
Yeah, we have some interesting deviations here. So, as you mentioned, like, ByuN, he survives. He gets his 3rd base up and running, and we're going to be able to turtle up and max out. But GuMiho, he is quite far ahead here in these upgrades. 2-2 just now starting up here for ByuN. 2-2 well on the way for GuMiho, so there's going to be an upgrade timing available for the blue Terran player. But we're just building up, getting another base, and I mean, sure, there's a nice upgrade advantage here for GuMiho, a nice upgrade lead, but soon the supply lead is going to be non-existent. Soon ByuN is going to be able to catch up.
And with arguably a more efficient army, here's a math question for you, Light. What's the point of diminishing returns when it comes to tanks, TvT?
Oh, that's a good... It all depends on how spread thin you are, right? Like, sure, you can have a lot of tanks and they can be solid, but right now, GuMiho, he is repositioning, right? You can see him spreading his tanks out between all of his bases. So it isn't actually quite likely that they're all going to be actually in position for that big fight when it does occur.
Yeah. If eventually it's gonna occur.
Maybe, we'll see. We'll see, as it looks like we're taking to the skies here, which I do appreciate from GuMiho. He's maintaining his tech lead by throwing down 2 more starports. We have a fusion core on the way. This is going to be for Viking Liberator. We speak about this quite a lot here, where TvT, it's all about the tanks, right? Initially, it's all about like the tank v tank, but then it quickly becomes about the Viking and Liberator versus Viking and Liberator. Then it becomes about the air control and the air battle. That does supersede, or that does surpass what tanks really do afford.
Speaking of tanks, here comes ByuN right across the map, taking out a decent chunk of GuMiho's Marines. GuMiho, though, very well fortified here in this rich Vespid base. There's no way ByuN's going to be able to not just break that, but even maneuver past in those little valleys or those ravines that the tanks are actually within range of.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the map, we have a little bit of a moment here to look at it, and there are quite a number of ravines, as you mentioned, quite a number of locations like this one where it looks so difficult to actually push through an entrenched position. So I don't envy ByuN here. He's trying to be active, he's trying to move out, but he doesn't find a way in, but he is going for a junior drop here on the right-hand side.
He's trying to bait GuMiho into an unfavorable position while he sends his Marines and his tanks into this natural base, just dives on through that missile turret, not quite able to get there. Okay, there we go. He gets the Liberator, and he actually is able to keep most of his Marines alive as well. We were talking about the tanks not quite being in position for a big fight, and this is exactly what we were talking about. You know, GuMiho, he had all his tanks, all his guns pointing towards those ravines. Not too many of them here to defend back home.
Yeah, there was an opening, and ByuN was able to exploit it, getting 10 worker kills. The Marines, they try to collapse on this. It looks like this will be cleaned up, but again, a very efficient trade here by ByuN, and he's not done. He's dropping into the main base, gets another tank, almost, not quite, but also gets a full scout as well, and he does confirm that fusion core.
Yeah, he knows how committed GuMiho is going to be when it comes to that air transition. The upgrades were also equal out for the majority of that drop as well, so really good timing here from ByuN. All of a sudden, GuMiho's advantages are starting to diminish and kind of shrink away.
Oh, a big tank volley is going up here in the center. Once again, so many tanks of GuMiho out of position, barely out of range. We take down the mineral line, we threaten that planetary, and ByuN, he's pulling GuMiho apart.
Yeah, he has been down so long in this game, but now that he's finally been able to equalize the supply, now that he's been able to get into his own production, it's like you said, he's picking him apart. He knows exactly how to find these little gaps in GuMiho's armor where his tanks aren't quite in position for him to just smash straight on forward. But hold on a second, because GuMiho still has a very healthy Liberator count.
Oh, exactly that air control we spoke about. That's something well in favor of GuMiho. Dives on the army, Marines them on forward, but the tanks, they do hold their own, and ByuN, he does barely come out on top in that fight. But as you mentioned, there's no answer to these Liberators. We cannot push in.
That we cannot, and GuMiho's tank count, sure, he lost a bunch of them that were a little bit isolated earlier on, but he's still got plenty of them around. He can still zone away these Marines and allow the Liberators to really push ByuN's tanks back.
Yeah, freedom has arrived, and GuMiho is able to fight back, able to bounce back here with the help of those liberation zones. At the same time, ByuN trying to outposition said Liberators. Again, they're not the most mobile units here, very similar to tanks in that sense, and we do actually find ourselves within range of the planetary, and it looks like it should go down.
Yeah, it should go down, and all of these Liberators are isolated from the tanks. Marines are going to be stimming on forward, taking out another tank as well. Liberators do survive. It looks like GuMiho will be able to chase this back. Those are some very good trades for ByuN. but at the very least, GuMiho has been able to keep the backbone of his army alive. You know, these liberators and the majority of his tanks.
Yeah, but now GuMiho, he's lost a base, he's lost a lot of those libs, as you mentioned. We do still have a healthy tank count for GuMiho. Like, his main army is still formidable, don't get me wrong, but ByuN, he is overwhelming again. He's maxing out, he's taking his own 4th base, maxing out on mainly Marines, but he's again done so much with them.
Yeah, even able to get a Marine bomb here and there. I have to wonder if it would be worth it for ByuN here to maybe throw in a couple of Marauders into the mix to be able to, you know, stem on forward against the tanks.
It would be amazing. It would be a really nice addition, but I'm pretty sure he has like purely reactors on his Raxes. Like he's just pumping out pure Marine right now, and
he's 15 Marines at a time. Yeah, you're all right. Like
that's a lot of reactors, Papi, and he's spending his gas elsewhere, working towards, and he is still frames, has like auto tracking. Now he's working on his Viking transition into Liberators with those 2 starports on the way, and once again he copper bombs here on top of the tanks, takes down 2 of them already with a handful of Marines. Very nice pick off here by ByuN.
Yeah, very perceptive here of ByuN to recognize that GuMiho, he's investing a lot into his Vikings, he's investing a lot into his Liberators, so he actually doesn't have much of a buffer here for his tanks. He has so many more Marines, my lord. This is almost like watching a TvZ, except somebody gave Zergling his guns.
I mean, again, this is just how ByuN approaches TvT. It's built a little bit different, going for a very Marine-heavy style. That's a sea of Marines looking to dive up this ramp, and we don't quite commit to it. Again, the positioning here is a little bit too good. GuMiho does reestablish his fort.
I just realized that GuMiho doesn't have Liberator range. I think he's just realized it as well, because production on that has just begun, and this is really hurting him a lot. This is allowing ByuN to really get on top of these Liberators, and really not allowing GuMiho to take advantage of this dead air. There's very little dead air on this map to begin with.
Yeah, that's a huge oversight here, and it is an oversight. I mean, the Fusion Squad finished like 5, 6, 7 minutes ago. We dive on top of the army. We're the Marines, by the way. 4 or 5 tanks go down. Very efficient trade here by ByuN, and big pickoffs.
He will eventually be chased back, but like you said, it's a very efficient trade for him. He's still got this back line of tanks that is going to prevent GuMiho from really getting on top of him, and ByuN can afford to throw away these Marines as long as he picks off 3, 4, 5 tanks at a time. He's still producing 12 Marines at a time, and he can more than afford this. He has so many more bases than GuMiho. GG is called. You can see GuMiho kind of sighing a little bit there. He had this game. He was so far ahead. He had such a great start, but ByuN's just sheer tenacity brought him forward throughout this see that got completely shut down. But here we go, game number 3 in the bottom right, the blue Terror player from Korea representing Cloud9. It's GuMiho.
And in the top left of side Delta, we have ByuN for Shopify. And as we settle into game number 3, into the ace match, by the way, the final game of this series, a big shout out to Jeff Bezos in the chat for resubscribing with Twitch Prime for 11 months. Almost a year of support. Gracias, papi, gracias, Quack. Thank you so much for the Twitch sub. Thank you.
Quack, quack. Muchas gracias, Senor Jeff. I just realized that that's how it's meant to be pronounced.
Well, how are you pronouncing it?
Jeff Bezos.
God damn it, Yaku. God damn it.
I just realized that was meant to be like a play.
Yeah.
And that other pronunciation, yeah.
Like Shakespeare.
Exactly. Chashipia.
Beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, thank you so much. And again, we're just settling into game number 3. GuMiho has been looking pretty good this entire series. Even game number 2, where he lost, like he had a strong start, as you mentioned. But clearly we can see here that even if ByuN falls behind, he is not one to count out, that in TvT you can bounce back. When it came to the moment that ByuN did bounce back, if you remember, it was that Doom drop, right? It was when he went for, I think it was a quadruple drop on the right hand side, and he moved in towards the left hand side with his main army as well. And with that one singular move, he was able to just break GuMiho apart, get so much damage done, and that was the beginning of the comeback for ByuN.
Absolutely. I mean, getting his cert base was one thing, but he was still behind in practically every regard. Like you said, when he was finally able to reciprocate that damage, he was trying so hard from the very start of the game. The minute he got shut down, the minute his 2 barracks proxy got shut down, he was fighting that uphill battle. There was no way he was going to be able to out macro himself from that position. he had to find damage, and GuMiho, for the longest time, was doing such a great job of denying ByuN these openings until we got to the mid to late game. Until, like you said, GuMiho positioned all of his tanks at that fort base and didn't have anything really back at home, back in his natural base, which was still pretty fresh. Still had about 12 or 13 workers worth of mineral patches on it.
And we'll see how GuMiho will adjust here in game number 3, just because every game so far he has been adapting and has been trying out different styles. Game 1, of course, was mech. Game 2 was more of a more traditional bio tank composition. Here in game 3, what do we have? As our players are going to be expanding so far, we're pretty much mirroring each other here, getting into our 1-1-1s and getting into initially cyclones early on, just to be safe, just for earlier defense.
Yeah, you don't want to risk too much here on the ace match. Especially an ace match with this high stakes. I mean, it's still a best of 3, but because of how this tournament works, because the top 3 players overall will be qualifying for the offline event, this is already a qualifier. Yeah. If you lose this, you might not be eliminated, but you have to slog your way through that lower bracket for another shot.
Exactly. This is a qualifying match, and who will qualify? We do have a faster medevac here out of ByuN. ByuN with that medevac first is rushing across the map. We can see that GuMiho is going for a Viking first instead. That will help, but we'll see how much he has ready for this push, as ByuN's going for the drop into the main, at the same time going for a bit of a run back here towards the natural.
Yeah, trying to hit the 1-2. As GuMiho, very quick to react, will pull back with his medevac that has 2 cyclones on it.
Yeah, we managed to get a couple of
the medevac!
Oh, the medevac is going to get targeted down, and ByuN leaves it idle. It's going to fall.
Attention a little bit elsewhere, a little bit too... at a place that isn't very worth it on these 2 Reapers that just weren't going to be able to get into that natural base regardless.
Yes.
Definitely not the start that ByuN was looking for.
A bit of miscontrol there out of ByuN. I think he was looking to try to rally it back, but maybe a bit of a misrally, a bit of miscontrol. Regardless, the medevac is going to be focused down, and just like that, GuMiho's early game is solid. Just like that, GuMiho, he gets away with his natural, and I don't know if you saw, but GuMiho, he's already got a 3rd on the way as well.
I did not see that, but now I'm taking note of that in the production tab. GuMiho also playing a much more traditional TvT and actually opting for Ravens. I cannot believe that we had to wait until the ace match to get a player to create Ravens, but here we are.
Yeah, Ravens and Interference Matrix as well, so GuMiho getting into a solo composition. 3rd CC is already done for GuMiho, by the way, and GuMiho throws down 2 more star... Wait, what?
What?
He's going up to triple StarCraft.
Mass Raven?
I mean, he's gonna be going massive Viking. Right, honestly, right now, if I saw these 2 starports on the way, I would assume it's a 2-base all-in, but he's got a 3rd base, so it's not an all-in at all. He's crazy.
This is possibly GuMiho looking too far forward into the future, but you know, thankfully with his 2 cyclones, he is doing a pretty good job of keeping ByuN back. ByuN really would like to get right up on his face. What are the add-ons going to be? Tech Lab and... okay, a Tech Lab as well. So 2 Tech Labs and 1 reactor on these 3 starports. Banshee is a possible... yeah, Banshee.
I mean, it's mech, right? There we go. Banshees are on the way. It is going to be mech once again here from GuMiho. For those who weren't here, we did play mech in game 1. Oh my, he's crazy. He's doing it all. He rushed into a gigafast 3rd base, going into double starport, triple starport production, into a ninja base.
And Ninja 4th as well. This is... yeah, definitely... the Ninja definitely makes a lot of sense when you're investing this hard into your starports. This isn't just your ordinary mech, by the way. This is Sky Terran.
Yeah.
And this is mid-game Sky Terran. That's a unit composition you normally transition into as the game goes forward, as you get your tier 2, tier 3 stages of tech and upgrades. GuMiho says, nah, you can skip all that. You don't need that foundation. Just,
I mean,
Banshees
Yeah.
and tanks and Vikings.
So GuMiho might die here. GuMiho is very vulnerable. He's
very
vulnerable.
likely, yeah.
He's got a handful of tanks. He does have Introverse Matrix. To be fair, he has that Raven. If GuMiho can survive this push, GuMiho is going to be in a beautiful position, and already he shoots first.
He loses one of his tanks, and ByuN doesn't lose any of his tanks, but there we go. The flank with the auto turrets completely shuts down this army of ByuN. Look at that army supply difference now. ByuN underestimating the power of the Raven.
Yeah, the Raven with help of those Vikings, everything gets cleaned up. We get some limited harass in the main base. Pretty good damage dealt here by ByuN, but this is not worth losing his main army. Again, that was what, 3 tanks, 2 medevacs, so many Marines. GuMiho, sure, he's losing mining time in the main base, but he has a ninja base and an insanely fast third. Like, he's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and now ByuN's got to be scratching his head, trying to come up with a response. He's got to be wondering, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah, I mean, I do like this.
How do I counter this?
Yeah, ByuN, he's going into a fast 4th base, which I do appreciate. I mean, it's later than his opponent, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know about the ninja base, doesn't know what GuMiho is up to right now. But I'm still worried here for ByuN because GuMiho, he's just freestyling on him right now. Going into mass Banshee, Cloak alongside Banshee speed is done. We scan the main base, we get confirmation of what's going on. Ooh, the Banshees are a little bit too late to delay this AC though.
Yeah, but at least they do get confirmation, and they do take note of how vulnerable ByuN is looking right now in that base in particular. 2 more factories on the way. This is, once again, the complete opposite of how you normally get into your Sky Terran or your Mech Sky Terran, but GuMiho, he's built a bit different, you know? He's Australian.
He is. Up is down, down is up, and we are going to be researching Hurricane engines as well. We just cut off ByuN completely. Massive tank shots going to be going off on these Marines. As I say that, though, the tanks themselves are exposed, and we're going to be able to pick some of them up. But it's not going to be enough.
GG is called in the end. GuMiho is pumped, and he should be pumped because he is going to be our first player from the Korean qualifiers securing his spot over in the offline event. Very nicely done here. GuMiho, the Trickster Terran, the Towel Terran, he figured out a way to just completely stagger his opponent, stagger our comprehension of TvT and what we understand of the matchup as well. And it pays off for him.
Yeah, I mean, this was
that 2-1 victory.
This was a very GuMiho series and a very GuMiho ace match as well. That game 3 was wild what GuMiho did. I feel like we have to place like a disclaimer here. If you're a Terran player out there, don't do what GuMiho did because only GuMiho can pull that off. And it's just, he's just, again, built different, as you mentioned. A very unique style. He got away with a ninja base, very fast third as well. He shut down the drop, he shut down the first push, and he just snowballed out of control. ByuN was having a really hard time reading GuMiho, especially in that last game. And with that, congratulations to GuMiho. My condolences to ByuN, as ByuN is knocked down to the lower bracket.
Indeed, where he doesn't quite have an opponent waiting for him just yet, but we will be determining who that opponent's going to be later on this evening. We'll be facing the winner of Stats versus Cure tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And oh, actually, yeah, that's a match that's coming up right here.
Yes, we're
right
going
after this one.
Exactly. We're going to be going on a short break. When we return, we will have that PvT between Stats and Cure coming up next. Stick around.